Hey, 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 welcome to the Jazz Tackar podcast. It is episode 239, and today I'm going to be speaking about finding and attracting the right customers for your sales business. But before I get started, we are live on Twitch, and so if you're watching right now on Twitch, you can ask questions live, which I will get to at the end of the episode, as well to all my friends on YouTube who are watching the recording and listening to this podcast while they're driving and or taking their dog for a walk. I appreciate you, and as always, give me the feedback. Look, guys, the content's free. I'm not charging for any of this content. I never have. I don't foresee myself charging for the Jazz Tackar podcast. It's been a passion project of mine for the last 5 years, and I love all the feedback, the good, the bad, the ugly. I can handle the constructive criticism. So in the comments section, tell me what you like. Tell me what you want to hear more of so I can make sure that I can bring those topics. In fact, this topic today, prospecting and lead generation for your sales business, finding the right and attracting the right customers, was brought to me by my coaching members who are like, Jazz, we want to hear more about what your processes and what your processes and systems have been for the now coming up to 30 years. I know it sounds weird, and anybody who's looking at me is like, what? When did you start? When you were 2? The truth is, I've been in the sales industry for 30 years now. In the real estate industry coming up to 20 years. So look, I mean, at the end of the day, I would probably be the biggest idiot if I didn't pick up on some patterns along the way. Right? Think about it. It's been 30 years. I started from selling newspapers at the age of 12, then selling shoes. And for my older people, you'll probably get this reference, not the Al Bundy type, but helping marathon runners and sprinters. And then I went into the banking industry where I was a sales and service specialist, helping clients and customers at CIBC for about 3 years with mortgages, lines of credits, their personal banking. Did that for 3 years, went into car sales for another 3 years. So I've had some good, long stints. I wasn't in these industries, banking, shoe sales, car sales for 3 months. I had some good stints in them. And then real estate now for 20 years. And so at the end of the day, what I've come to learn is that customers are human beings, all of them. Doesn't matter what they're looking into buying, at the end of the day, they're really asking themselves a couple of questions. And those questions are, look, am I going to get hurt by this purchase? Not hurt physically, but emotionally, and most probably importantly, financially. And if I'm going to be, what is the process going to be like? And so from a salesperson's perspective, I think at the highest level, what you need to focus on and get really, really good at, guys, I'm not born with this, right? Maybe I'm born with the good looks and the voice, and you guys can tell me if you're listening to the podcast in your car, okay, Jazz, you do have a good voice if you're a new subscriber/follower to the Jazz Tackar podcast, but you can learn this skill. You can learn the skill that is the most important as a salesperson. And to me, that is the skill of asking questions. Because see, your job is to ask the right questions and then possibly, and I say possibly because you can't help everyone, but possibly reverse engineer / customize your product or service. Right? And sometimes you're not going to be able to do that. And that's why I like to call my whole process of sales, and I've been doing, as I mentioned, for 30 years, I've always been doing the same thing, which is sorting and not convincing. People ask me the question, Jazz, how do I become a better sales? How do I convince more people to make a purchase in real estate? How do I convince more people to get the mortgage with me as a mortgage broker / loan officer? How do I get how do I convince / manipulate people to buy a car with me? It's just the wrong thought process. What you need to do is sort, because some people will be ready now. Some people will be ready in 3, 6, 9, 12 months from now, and some are just not wanting to deal with you. Why? Because they don't feel your vibe. So today's topic is about prospecting and lead generation for the first 2 buckets. Those first 2 buckets, again, is number 1, finding the people that are ready right now. Bucket number 2 is finding the people that say, well, look, I'm not ready right now, but I might be. And that might be, that second bucket is now it's very important in terms of what you do next. Are you going to drop that lead and not nurture them and follow up with them? But I'm going to be talking about all things that I've been doing specifically in the last 20 years in the real estate side of things to make sure that my clients are nurtured. Now, what you want to do, and I got some notes here as well, which might be new to some of my older followers and listeners, like, holy shit, Jazz usually just kind of goes off script. I am going to be going off script a lot. In fact, it's not a script. It's just some points that this way I don't forget the stuff that I want to make sure that brings you value. And as always, if it does, do me a favor, share this with a friend, colleague, and even if it's someone in your office. Long gone are the days where you can't share. We got to be in the abundance mentality, not the scarcity mentality. So, number 1 is, what are the ways that you can get leads? Where should you be prospecting? So I'm a firm believer there's really only 4 ways to get business. Okay, here's the 4 ways. Number 1 is staying in touch / warm outreach. So reaching out to people that already know you, like you, or trust you. So I put that in the category of warm outreach. Number 2 is cold outreach. Pretty simple, reaching out to people that don't really know you yet, they don't like you, and they obviously don't trust you yet because they don't know you and like you. So that's number 2. Number 3 way to get business, and this is really for any business that you might be in, and so even if you're not in the real estate business or mortgage business, whatever business you're in, these are the 4 ways that you can attract the right customer, starting with the warm outreach, cold outreach. Number 3 being content. And in the world of social media, so all the platforms that are out there like yourself right now, right? You're watching on YouTube. Maybe you're watching live on Twitch right now. And if you are, you see it pinned, ask me some questions and I will make sure that I will do my best to get to them before the episode is done. And if you're not on Twitch, great time to get over to Twitch. Just search my name, Jazz Tackar. Very easy to find. Number 3 way is social media. And then the 4th way is running ads. You could do Facebook ads, you could do Google ads, you can do Instagram ads, you can have a billboard, you can do direct mail. There's so many ways that you can also run ads. In fact, all 4 is something that I recommend, but today's episode is going to be about the number 1 and most fundamental way to get business. In fact, the other 3 won't even work very effectively if you don't do the number 1 way, which is warm outreach, specifically dealing with your CRM. Because when you talk about warm outreach, or when I talk about warm outreach within my business, as well as with any of my coaching members, any of my real estate agents on my team, which we're now, as of today's recording, we're in mid-March. I have a little over 62 real estate agents on my team. So this is the same thing that I've been speaking about for 20 years. But it's a cliche because it actually works, because it makes sense. So this is something that you really need to focus on, which is building your CRM within the warm outreach. And just for future purposes, I want you to know I'm going to cover all the other ways that you can get leads. So the cold outreach, the social media / content, as well as ads in future episodes. Just let me know which one maybe you want me to cover next when I come around to talk about one of those 4. So for today's topic, we're going to be speaking about CRM. What is a CRM? Okay. Very easily put, the acronym CRM stands for Customer Relationship Management. It's a software. Another word for that is database. It's some type of software where you can collect people's names, contact information, including their emails, phone numbers, mailing addresses, birthdays, anniversaries, their pets' names, their children's names, all of the above. At the end of the day, none of the CRMs will allow you to even put in a name without an email address. And so don't overthink what type of CRM you should be using, because I can't stress this enough, guys, for now coaching real estate professionals as well for the last decade, really like informally for the last decade, but formally for the last 2 years. I can't tell you how many people spend so much time overthinking what CRM should I get. At the end of the day, I'm going to give you a couple of the popular ones, but know this, the best CRM to use and get is the one that you actually use, because they all do pretty much the same thing, okay? But the most popular ones in the real estate industry, and this is for real estate agents as well as mortgage brokers, okay, would be either Follow Up Boss, there's KV Core, there's Exact. I personally use HubSpot, and HubSpot's actually not a real estate software. It's more of a sales and marketing software. I ended up going with that because there's some design aspects, as well as the ability to set up call queues for the rest of my team. It's quite robust. In fact, it's quite expensive, and that's not a knock on HubSpot by any means. I mean, I've been with them for coming up to 7 years right now, but you're looking at, to get all the workflows and the automation, you're looking at close to about $16,000 to $17,000 USD a year. So you like, I want you guys to understand what I just said. I mean, I invest, not spend. It's not an expense that I look, even though I get to write it off, but I invest about $16,000 to $17,000 USD, which is about 20K Canadian, a little bit more than that in today's exchange rate. But I invest that into my business because it's that important. In fact, the CRM and all the stuff that I'm going to be speaking about on today's episode is fundamental. In fact, I actually don't even need to do the other three: the social media / content, the cold outreach, and the ads. If I just were to stick with this all day long, which I end up doing all four, but without the CRM, the other three won't work, because you're not going to be able to bring in people's names and contact information, right? So I understand why a lot of people teach and coach on the fact that you should be doing social media, you should be doing ads. But if you're neglecting the people that already know you, they possibly like you, and they'll possibly trust you, why wouldn't you start there? And I know while you're driving right now, or you're on the treadmill, you're thinking, what the hell? Like, I got to call these people that I don't know. Well, I'm going to give you a couple of scripts to make this job very, very easy. I'm not holding back anything when it comes to now moving forward with the Jazz Tackar podcast, because I do come from the abundance mentality. I know that there's enough to go around. Some will, some won't. So what? Meaning, as my real estate agents and mortgage brokers who are listening right now, and some other sales professionals that have obviously come into my world, there's enough to go around. There's enough pies to go around. And if we ever run out of pies, we'll just start to figure out ways to bake more. And so very important to understand that I am now giving it all away, like all the secret sauce. I'm peeling back the curtains, full transparency, whatever word you want to use, whatever term you want to use. So make sure to share this with a friend and comment below to let me know what questions you have specifically about your business. So now you understand where we should be starting is with the people that already know us. They possibly like us. They possibly trust us as well. In fact, if you have past clients that you've done business with, well, they know you, they like you, and they trust you. So, I mean, that's a complete no-brainer to get started with them. Where do you actually get started with the CRM? So, the first thing that we want to do is have one. We get a CRM, and now, before you put people's name and email and contact information into the CRM, what I want you to do is work off a basic Excel sheet. The reason being is because we want to make sure that we have the permission of the people that we're actually going to stay in touch with. What you can easily do, and anyone can easily do this, is simply, I got some questions coming here in Twitch, so I appreciate it. And so what we're going to be doing is we want to make sure that when we're reaching out to people, we have their permission. Because what you can easily do, as I was mentioning, is just buy a list from Google. My older folks know that you could have just bought something from the yellow pages in the past, like just a list you can buy. But what use is that? You're going to be a spammer. You're going to be like the air duct caller cleaners that you get calls from, or you're just going to be somebody who's knocking on doors that you don't want to be bothered. So what we want to actually do is build a list of names of people that we have permission from. The way that we do this, and now I'm going to start giving you some scripts and some real value here. You might actually even want to make sure that you come back to this episode to hear it again, because the brain can only retain approximately 10 to 12% when it hears something for the first time. So don't be scared to come back to this episode to make sure that you're getting the scripts down properly. What we want to do is start with the Excel spreadsheet. And what we're going to do from there is I want you to look at your phone. Start there. It's the easiest place to start. I want you to put the names and numbers of everybody that you have in your phone. Now, if you're thinking, well, I have some people outside of the province or the state I'm in, let's just get started with the province or the state that you're in. So I'll reference Toronto because I'm born and raised here. This is where my businesses are. This is where my headquarters are. I would start with listing everyone into this spreadsheet that I have in Toronto and the surrounding areas. We call it the Greater Toronto Area, which is approximately a 50-mile/75-mile radius, because I know people who are in that radius, they'll introduce me to other people, as well as they might want to buy, sell, or invest into this area. I'm going to put everyone's name, and that includes, and this is where everyone gets it wrong, 99% of people. Let me rephrase that. This is where 99% of people get it wrong. You need to add everyone, like your uncle, your aunt, your videographers. I got my crew here right now, Clyde and Bo behind the scenes. I mean, they're in my CRM, and if they're not, they're going into my CRM. Why? Because they're 18 plus and they have a pulse. Let me repeat that. Very important, guys. This is 99% of people get this wrong, okay? Why am I going to put my cousin who's 18, they ask me? Or why would I put my videographer? Why would I put the person that I met at the coffee shop? They're not going to buy. They're renting right now. They don't have enough money, Jazz. Well, that's just full of shit, period. Why? Because one day they might buy. And I say 18 plus, just look at your own state and province's regulations. But here in Ontario, the province I'm in, you have to be 18 plus to sign a contract. And so I'm going to put you in there. And chances are, if you're 18, even if you're renting, even if you're living with your parents, side note, asterisk, hear it, live with their parents. The parents are probably working. They have equity in their homes. They might be thinking about buying or selling very soon. The parents also have friends. Back to the 18-year-old, he or she also has other friends that are wanting to get into this market in real estate, probably whatever other target, whatever other customer you're trying to target, they might want that product or service as well. And as long as they have a pulse, their name and number goes into that spreadsheet. Remember, not into the CRM yet. I'm going to make sure we get a nice, clean list of names and numbers and then put them into the CRM. And yes, you're going to call these people, but don't worry. I'm going to give you the exact script that will have 99% of people that you call give you the permission. Because you're not going to do the nonsense that used to be back in the 80s and 90s. You're going to have to wait for that script as I just go through the process. See, what I know is different about today's episode is that I'm not just giving you high-level strategies. I think that's important. Mindset is important. I'm going to have tons of episodes moving forward about the importance of mindset. I actually think it's about 80 to 90% of it. But that 10% that I'm giving you in today's episode, it's tactical. Like, it's actually what you need to do to start getting business. This is the time right now. There's been no better time to do this. Yes, you should have done this 10 years ago if you're in the business for that long. But you didn't. Who cares? Let's not think about that anymore. Let's think about today. How do we move forward from today to make sure and ensure that 2024 is the best year that you've ever had? And I get it. We're almost 4 months. The first quarter is almost done. You had a great quarter? Amazing. Let's make it better. The second quarter and the rest of 2024. You didn't have a good quarter? Who gives a shit? It's in the past. Let's leave it there. And now let's just move forward. Without the CRM, without putting these fundamentals into place, guys, you will fall out of business. Why? Because you can't remember everyone's birthdays. You can't remember the pets' names. You can't remember all this stuff, nor should you. That bandwidth, not the www bandwidth in internet talk. I'm talking about the bandwidth in the 6 inches between your ears, should be used for the highest producing revenue activities, which is actually meeting people. So we need to set up some automation in the back end, which I'm going to touch on. What type of automation? We're going to get all these names. You're going to get from your phone. You're then going to move into getting everybody from your inbox. Because sometimes you might have emails that you're going back and forth with people that you just know, not just your clients. That's a no-brainer, right? Go to your office, just get all the deals you've done, the trade records, the agreements of purchase and sale, put all those names and numbers into this Excel sheet. All your past clients. But now you're going through your phone, your aunts, your uncles, your cousins, your friends, all of them. The people the home inspector, yes, the plumber, the electrician, all of them go into this CRM. But you might have some people that you don't have their phone number and you only have their email. Great. Put that in there. I'm gonna help you through, like this episode, not in future episodes. Today, I'm gonna make sure that the people that you have their phone numbers, we're gonna get their emails and then get their permission to stay in touch. The people that you have their emails and don't have their phone numbers, I'm going to give you the email script that you need to make sure that you can now get their phone number. So we're going to do a lot of cross-referencing. We got to juggle a couple of balls at the same time. Now that we have everyone's name in the spreadsheet, we are not doing an import, meaning we're not taking those names from the spreadsheet and putting them into the CRM yet. Why? Because we don't have their permission. And so what we want to make sure we do is get their permission. All right, here's the script now. You are going to call everyone that you have their phone number, and you're simply going to ask for permission. And here's how you're going to do it. So I'll use my boy Clyde as my example. I'm going to call Clyde on the phone and say, Clyde, how you doing? It's Jazz calling. I know, it's been a while, brother. How's everything? You quickly build rapport, okay? And one thing in future episodes I'm going to go very deep on is the process of how to make phone calls and get more effective. In fact, we do events locally here in Toronto. If you're in the Toronto or Greater Toronto area or Southern Ontario, you can always just leave a comment or send us an email at info@ftguacademy.com, info@ftguacademy.com to get on our wait list for our upcoming events, which we do actually live calls. A little shameless plug, but I wanted to do that because they are a free event, and we actually book appointments on the spot. Going back to the script and using Clyde as my example. Clyde, you good? Awesome. It's Jazz, by the way. I know it's been a while, but I wanted to reach out to you, and I'm not calling you to ask you if you're buying or selling. I mean, that stuff, used to work in the 90s and the 80s, but I'm actually calling you for a specific purpose. I need your help. Now, side note, really quickly, outside of script and role-playing, the reason you say I need your help is because Clyde knows you. He might not have spoken to you in 6 years. Maybe it's 6 months. Maybe it's been 6 days. It doesn't really matter. But the second you say that, there's a very high probability that Clyde's going to say, what is it, Jazz? How can I help? What do you need? He's actually going to think it's quite serious. And then what you're going to say back to him is say, I need your help. And let him say something. And then you're going to say, I need to get your opinion on some of the marketing I'm going to be doing through emails, events, and content. Are you okay with that? So let me say that whole thing again, okay? Just so everybody hears it. Clyde, how you doing? Good? It's Jazz, man. I know it's been a while. listen, man, I just really wanted to get your opinion on some of the marketing I'm going to be doing moving forward. And let me know, like, the good, the bad, the ugly. And if at any time you feel like I'm spamming you too much, you can unsub and no hard feelings. Are you okay with that? That's it. Don't get into the talk. Don't make the mistake. Okay? Guys, girls, if you're serious about this right now, don't make the mistake of saying, by the way, Clyde, do you know anybody who's thinking about buying or selling? Hey, Clyde, are you thinking about buying or selling? And the reason I say don't make that mistake is because now all the work you just put in to get their permission, you now went into sales mode. And that's not what the reason for this call is, okay? We're building this house, the house being the business. And if you're thinking about being in this business for a while, you should build the house on a strong foundation. Just makes sense, right? You know this, especially if you're in real estate. Like, you can't build a home on a swampy foundation. Doesn't make sense. It's gonna fall down. And so you can't build a business on the lack of having a CRM and ways to stay in touch with people. So don't do all that work of scrubbing. And the word scrubbing is for when you're putting all the names from your phone or your inbox into your phone, into your CSV, which is the Excel sheet, and then throw it all in the garbage, because what you do is now move forward and ask them to buy or sell. We'll get there. The process of this in terms of the CRM is to nurture people. See, in real estate and in mortgages, this is a big purchase. You're not going to meet someone. The chances of this happening is rare. Meeting someone and then they buy or sell in the next 2 days. There's a process to this. It's such a big ticket. And so knowing that there's a process to it, I highly recommend that we make sure that we focus on having a system that nurtures people. All we're wanting to do is go through the process. It's like dating, right? So if you and I, whoever's listening on the other end, if I was trying to marry you, it's probably a good idea that I probably just start with something that's not that time invested needed. Like, there's not that much time that is invested. There's not that much money invested. What do I mean by that? Well, it's probably a good place to start, which is a coffee. Why? Because it's about 20 minutes. Well, we get to know each other a little bit more. If we hit it off, great. Maybe we'll spend a little bit more time together and a little bit more money, and that might be lunch. Then from lunch, it's dinner. Then it's meeting the parents, right? So we understand this outside of sales, where I think what happens with salespeople, and maybe you've done this in the past, but that's okay. After today's episode, you're not going to be this person, where you go right into the close because somebody fucking told you in some video, like, you got to be a fucking closer. Nah, you got to be a good nurturer. You got to be a good farmer. See, a farmer knows, right? If you think about it, right? A farmer knows you plant a seed and then you wait. You let it get some sun, you give it some water, and you got to give it some time. Sales is exactly that, specifically from a top 1% perspective. The top 1% in the industry, they know, well, I'm not going to push this right now because if I push it, I might scare the person. Why don't I just have some patience? Because everyone else in the business is being pushy, so the bar's set so fucking low. I actually think I'm really good in sales because of that reason. I realized a long time ago, and the switch happened for me in car sales, which was, it's such a bad stigma, right? Like, think about car salespeople, like used cars. They're sleazy, they're like smelly, and like they keep the cars dirty. I knew that the bar was set so low. All I had to do is not be that. So I bathed. That's a good idea for salespeople, by the way. Take a fucking shower, okay? Like, and I'm not being sarcastic about it. Not everyone does. There's like, brushing your teeth is important, because if you're talking to somebody and your breath smells, like, that is probably not going to bode well, because they're not going to want to be around you on a regular basis. So very basic. And I know you're thinking like, Jazz, what the hell are you talking about? But I've seen it. I've been in the industry of sales for a very long time. I knew in car sales, people weren't clean. I knew in car sales, they had the mentality, I need to close today. This customer's coming in, I'm going to close them right now. My thought process the whole time was, I'm just going to get Bo to like me, Bo the customer. I'm just going to get him to like me. And if he likes me and I'm not pushy, I think I have a better chance. But did you catch that? I'm going to close him right now, I'm going to have a better chance in stacking the cards in my favor. Because what I'm really trying to do here is get to a place with the customer where I can get to the next stage. Remember the dating analogy I used? Coffee, lunch, dinner, meet the parents, get married kind of thing. In sales, it's very similar, right? It's social media maybe. That's how we connected. It's a phone call like I told you to make. Send some emails. I'm going to talk about the automation very soon right now. Send some emails. Maybe invite them to some events. Make some phone calls every 4 months to this person. That's going to be part of your automation. And then get to an appointment at some point, one-on-one consultation, help them with buying, selling, or investing. That's it. That's the process. But you can't skip it. You can't go from meeting with them and then pushing them to buy or sell or invest with you. It's not going to be sustainable. You might get lucky. And anybody who's in the business in 2021 and 2020, like late 2020, you probably got very lucky, right? Meaning you were order taking. People were calling you and saying, come list me. I'm ready to buy. I want to invest into a pre-construction condo. Well, a funny thing happened in mid-2022 and all of 2023. The emails didn't ding as much. The phone didn't ring as much, right? Because real estate wasn't a hot topic. And so the order takers in the business, they got fucked. They're out or they're leaving, right? The top, I won't say 1% necessarily. I'll even go as far as saying the top 5 to 7%. They were always proactive. They always had their emails going out. They were always doing events. They were always staying in touch with their clients. And hence why even in a rougher market of 2023 and first month or two of 2024, it still had business happening. And that's what I want to make sure that you do moving forward. So now that we have the permission of everyone that we had in the Excel sheet, you now can move forward and putting those names into the CRM. Do not just automatically put Clyde's name in the CRM without getting the permission. It's useless. You're better off not even putting in all this fucking time. Just don't even do it. What you need to do is make sure you make the phone calls. I know it's hard, guys, but if it was easy, everybody would do it. Everybody would be a top 1%er. The reason the top 1% exists is because they do what 99% of people don't do. And so that's why I need to make sure that you make the hard process of making the phone calls. And if you're somebody who's never made a phone call, I know it's going to be tough for you to make the call, but I can promise you something. I can guarantee you something. And come back to me on any of my social platforms. Call me out. I'm okay with it. And say, Jazz, you're full of shit. It didn't fucking work. Okay? Because now I have so much experience with this personally and with so many of my coaching clients and realtors on my team and people that I just friggin' cross paths with at the office that it actually is a little easier than you think it is. It's pretty much made up in your head of the fact of, oh my God, when I call that guy Clyde, what is he's going to tell me like, oh my God, I didn't talk to him for a while. It's all just made up in your head. Okay. So we have to ensure that we make that phone call to ask for permission. Without the phone call and asking for permission, nothing moving forward is actually going to work. Once we have the names in there, okay, we have the names. I don't care if it's, and some might say, Jazz, I only got 50. That's great. If 50 people know 50 people that know 50 people, you can see how your network is going to start to expand. I always use the example, like if you know 200 people, the average person, actually, if you Google this, the average person knows about 200 people. So if you know 200 people that know 200 people, your network is now 40,000 people. Okay? And you probably need to get 50 to 100 of them to actually do business with you. And you got a over $1 million business in the GTA for sure. But anywhere you are, you have a really healthy business if you're doing 50 to 100 transactions. And yes, you can get there, But we got to start with the most fundamental aspect of our business, which is nurturing our clients. This might be falling on deaf ears. It might be sounding like I'm a broken record, or you've heard it from others. And the reason is because the top 1% know that we need to focus and get started with the people that already know us and like us. Once we get these names into the CRM, this is when those CRMs that I mentioned, Follow Up Boss, KV Core, HubSpot, Exact, they can do a lot of the heavy lifting for you, okay? What do I mean by that? Well, we're going to set up automation. We're going to set up getting these clients, Clyde as my example, ensuring that he gets 26 emails every single year. Sounds like a lot, but it's actually not, right? It's an email every other week. If you're asking what type of emails, well, you want to get emails that are value add. Please don't do the nonsense of asking, meaning always trying to sell something in those emails. The thesis of my thought process when it comes to my outreach for my warm clients through my CRM is giving, and then asking. It's what I do with the Jazz Tack Art podcast, right? Like, I'm going to give you all this information, and one day, if you're a real estate investor, you're a real estate professional, real estate agent, mortgage broker, you're in sales, and you ask for coaching, well, that's what I'm going to be able to possibly help you with. But I'm not going to go into like, come to one of my programs and come right now and start paying me. That's nonsense. I'm going to give, and then I'll ask. And so that's what I want you to do with these 26 emails. Where are you going to come up with these emails? Well, I think it's better than it's nothing if you send out like the gardening tips, but I think you can do better than that, especially with technology. And here's what you're going to do. I'm going to make this very simple for you guys. You're going to go into ChatGPT. Okay, and if you haven't used ChatGPT, you better get used to AI, because artificial intelligence is not going to take over your job, but I can tell you right now, it can make your job a lot more easier as well. And the top 1% are always finding ways to make their job easier, to scale. And you can scale with technology, and you can scale with people. Things I'm going to be covering in the Jazz Tack Art podcast moving forward, how to scale your business. But for today's conversation, I want you to go into ChatGPT, and I want you to put in the prompt as follows. I am a local real estate agent in blank area, and I want to provide value-added emails for my client base in real estate. My client base consists of my friends, families, past clients, and service providers such as plumbers and electrician guys and gals, landscapers, and I want to give them value in terms of the buying, selling, and investing processes in real estate. Please provide me with 50 subjects for emails. Enter. Within 4.6 seconds, you are going to get 50 topics. I know I said 26. The reason I'm saying 50, just stick with me. Those 50 are going to come to you in 4.6 seconds. You then are going to choose 26 of them, okay? When you choose the 26, they're going to be numbered, and you're going to write the prompt back for emails 1, 7, 15, 18, get to 26. Please provide me not only now with the subject line, but I now need the full body of the email written for me. Please provide. Within approximately 13.1 seconds. And if you've never done this before, you're going to be like, your mind's going to be fucking blown. You are going to get 26 full emails written that are targeted for your client base that you're going to now read. Please do not move forward without reading the emails, because you never know. It might have been written, if you're based in Vancouver, Canada, this might have been written from a perspective of somebody in Kansas City. So we just got to make sure. Read all the emails. You then copy those emails and you paste them into the CRM section of a drip campaign. And if you don't know what that means, that's okay. Because what I want you to do is I want you to be resourceful. So if you're with Follow Up Boss, you're with KV Core, you're with HubSpot, you're with Exact, whatever CRM platform you're using, they have what's known as a support line. You're paying monthly, $50, $40, whatever. They're all pretty much the same, other than HubSpot, by the way. You're going to call and ask the support line. I have 26 emails that I want to automate that my clients get. And my past clients, my friends, I want all of them to get the same email when they come into my CRM. Can you please show me how I set up the automation that I can have this email sent out every other week? Side note, pick any day, any time, just keep it consistent. You know, remember back in the days we used to watch like Seinfeld's or Friends. We always knew what day and time they were coming out on. It's why I do the Jazz Tack Our podcast now moving forward on Fridays at 10:30 a.m. because I want every week, by the way, like huge announcement. I'm going weekly with this. I'm on air saying it. My team's probably looking at me like, you're not supposed to say that because we're not sure if we're going to do it weekly, but I'm making the decision that we're doing this weekly, boys. All right. Every Friday, 10:30 a.m. Eastern. So make sure that you come back and pick any day or time. So it could be Thursday at 10 a.m. that you're going to send these emails. It could be Sunday at 1 p.m. It matters. It's so minuscule in terms of when open rates are better. It's not a big deal. So just pick whatever day and time you feel comfortable with. And just, if I were you, just pick it out of a hat. You send it at 3 o'clock in the morning. It doesn't really matter. It's going to be automated. They're automatically going to get it. See how the CRM is going to do the heavy lifting for you? Again, if you don't know how to do that, you just call your support line. While you're speaking to the support line, or if you're very tech savvy, what you're also going to do is, remember when you made those permission-based calls? You would have known the days that you made them. You are now going to set up the CRM to follow up with Clyde, using him as the example still, to call him every 120 days. So every 4 months, you're going to call Clyde. And don't worry about what you're going to say to him. I'm going to cover this stuff in future episodes, but I'll give you a little bit right now in case you never come back. Okay? When you call, Clyde, in 4 months from now, you're going to call just to check in on him. You're not going to try to sell him on the spot. What you're going to do is check in on him and say, Clyde, how's those emails that I've been sending? Are we good? Yes? Awesome. Hey, Clyde, I'm just curious, where's your headspace at with everything you're watching or listening to about the real estate market? That's called opening a conversation. Quite simple. Like what you're doing there is making sure that he's getting the emails as well as he's giving you feedback. And then you're just asking, hey, where's your headspace at with everything that you're watching or listening to when it comes to the real estate market? That's going to be kind of your follow-up calls, okay? And you can figure out other ways, at least right now where we're at the stage of your CRM, setting up your CRM in the automation, is that you've gotten permission from everyone in your list that you can send them emails, number one. Number two, you've now set up an email drip campaign for them to be nurtured through emails every other week with something that's better than make sure to clean out your clutter, your roof gutters, or like landscaping nonsense tips, okay? As well, you've set up a call campaign where you'll make sure that you reach out every 4 months. At this point, you've now done something that you probably haven't done before. Like, I really want you to start to envision what this could do for you. To give you an insight with my business, what this has done for me, I've been doing this for 20 years, like not only being in the business, I mean nurturing my clients, okay? It earns out of my database, okay, which is like out of my CRM, 90% of my business, okay? My team as a whole, we sell about 650 to 700 homes a year. Now, I want to make sure, like, none of this stuff is to impress you guys. It's more to impress upon you where all the data's coming from. So it's not like I don't want you to think I just read this shit in a book, okay? 700 transactions, 650 to 700 transactions a year, out of which myself and 3 other team members, we do about 200 to 250, okay? Every single year like clockwork for the last 7 years I've been doing that, okay? Let's just take that 7-year mark now, okay? In that 7-year mark, 200 to 250 transactions, 90% every year came from the database. So if you do simple math, 200 transactions, 90% of 200 is about 180 deals, okay? All from my CRM, guys. What does that equate to? Approximately $4.5 million every single year in top-line revenue GCI. Again, I'm not trying to impress you guys. Anybody who's been in my world for a long time, you know I usually don't share numbers and do all that stuff. I'm not all about like fucking flexing, as the kids say. But I feel like if it's the first time maybe you're in my world, then you need to know where all this is coming from, right? And so you have to ask yourself now, is it worth it to put the time in what I talked about today in today's episode to get to those numbers? It's not going to happen overnight. Anything that's worthwhile takes time. Anything that comes fast to you is not worthwhile. Let me just say that again, okay? Anything that's worthwhile in business and in life takes time. Anything that comes quickly is not worth it. So, what I would say is that make sure that you put in the time now so you actually have sustainability and longevity in this industry. Or you might not like this. Just get out of the business because you're not willing to put in the work. So why are you in this business? For what? To do a couple of deals a year? I get it. No problem. I'm not actually even speaking to really the part-timers. Not that I have anything, like, I don't really care. It doesn't, like, I don't really think about it. But if you're wanting to do this full time, why not just play big? Why not play big? I know you're going to have a hard time making those phone calls to your uncle or your cousin or your girlfriend's brother. I get it. But all the money that you're looking for, guys, is in this device. And if you're driving or on the treadmill right now, I'm holding up my phone. It's all in this device, okay? Anybody who's known me for a while as well knows that, like, I don't have a computer. I don't even have an office. I don't have a desk. Why? Because I just have my phone. Because this is what does all my business for me, especially in today's day and age, because I can shoot all my content with it as well. But at the end of the day, it's where I can send my emails. I can make my phone calls, and I can send my text messages. I just want to make sure I went over everything. Bear with me here as I just cross off everything. I want to make sure I didn't miss anything. Wow, boys, Bo, Clyde, I literally went through everything on my list today. All right. Now, if, again, you're new to the Jazz Tackar podcast, you're new to my world in Twitch, if you're live watching, press the follow button somewhere on Twitch. My mom loves that stuff, and the kids like to see the numbers grow. We're just testing out Twitch. We're getting used to it. So if there was some audio problems or visual problems, I appreciate your patience, and I appreciate you being on this journey with me. If you're new to me, welcome. If you've been on this journey, thank you. And I can't wait for episode 240. If you want to have a hand in topics that I discuss on the Jazz Tackar podcast, all you got to do is comment on any of the platforms, myself or my team, majority, like a 95 to 98% of the time, it's always me on those platforms talking back. So make sure that you ask your questions. And one last thing. If you're watching on YouTube right now, you can check in the description. If you're watching on Twitch, if one of my boys behind the cameras can just write this into Twitch, it's the text community. If you are a sales professional, doesn't mean real estate agent or mortgage broker. Obviously, that's kind of the business that I'm in. Feel free to send me a text message with any questions that you have, and I'll do my best to, answer them myself. All you got to do is text the word sales, S-A-L-E-S, sales to 647-372-0126. You guys don't have, or can I write that, guys? You want me to write it, or you have access? Great. Text the word sales. There it is. Sales to 647-372-0126, and I'll see you on the next episode.